So just a little about me. I'm Ben Guansing, as mentioned earlier. Oops, that's not what I wanted. That's just a little about me. I've been teaching middle school since around 2002. Did first LEGO League, Raspberry Pi Certified Educator, member of the Merit 2019 cohort. And I love learning about tech software, hardware apps, and just simply how they make teaching better. So quick question. How many of you have ever heard or used Tinkercad? Kind of. How many of you are using it with students currently? Oh, okay. So you probably might even be more familiar with some of the features than I am. I just really wanted to share because I've been using it with my students with this whole distance learning pandemic remote situation where I'm teaching computer science for middle school, 6th grade. Actually, I'm also teaching 5th grade computer science. And also teaching a middle school engineering class. And one of the challenges I faced was that we use the Future City competition, if you ever heard of that, every year. And one of the requirements or things that my students have to do with the Future City is build a model of their city, but doing it remotely was really quite a challenge. So I decided to settle on trying to use Tinkercad to have them collaborate on building their future city model in a 3D space. So one of the features of Tinkercad that I love that some of you may be familiar with, and if you're not familiar with it, I'd like us to give it a try this evening, is collaborating on building a 3D model. So some of the things I was hoping that we'd be able to accomplish tonight or get a taste of is, let me just quickly share. This guy's kept it very, very simple. What is Tinkercad? And what I should do, really, let me share the link to this slide deck so that you can also quickly access that. When you first log in, you'll probably see something like this. And if you haven't yet, you probably don't see this classes button. So in order to create a class, you need to go to your profile and scroll down to how you will use Tinkercad. Select a role that best fits you. And this is where you choose, of course, teacher, become an educator, accept the terms, and then save the changes. And I believe once you've done that, if it's done, hope I didn't lose my status here. Okay, there we go. Now you see the classes icon button there. So go ahead and click on that. And go ahead and create a new class. How many of you, this is the first time to ever walk through creating a class in Tinkercad? Okay, so go ahead, create a class. I'll just call it whatever you want. I'll call mine. Choose whatever subject you want. And then you will create your class. Okay, so what I'd like you to do is several ways you can do this: add students or create a class code. Probably easiest is is to create a class code and then share that code with students to join the class. So I guess I'll do this for us. I'm going to copy the link and I'll put that in chat so you can join this class.
And we had a quick question.
Sure.
We're wondering, can this sync to Google Classroom? Do you know?
No, I don't believe it can. What I usually end up doing is putting the join class code in the Google Classroom, and then from there, students will join the class that's created on Tinkercad.
Okay.
That's definitely would be a wish list to share with I'm sure Tinkercad has had that request.
Yeah.
Okay, so if I go, has everyone had a chance to try and join the class yet?
Maybe a thumbs up if you're in. Perfect.
Okay. So I'll just refresh. And there you go. Okay, all of you are now part of my class. Okay. And what I've done with my students, I'll just share. Usually it's best if let their works kind of speak for themselves. Let me just find it here. And those of you who are experienced, who are also experienced teachers with this, please feel free to chime in and share your experience. Okay, there you go. So this is just an example of a model that some of my students collaborated on and put together. So what I ended up having to do to get them to really think about the idea of scale, let's see, you can just zoom in here, is I had to put down some models of people. Okay, it's because that's one of the challenges I've had trying to get students to think about when you're building something to represent a city, how do you get them to realize how important scale is? So my technique for doing that was to put a little model of a man to represent a scale and say, hey kids, we're gonna say this represents a person, average height, call it 6 feet. And from there, they're able to get a better idea when they were collaborating on their model. So what I'd like us to try to do to get that similar experience of collaborating on a 3D model is I simply went to 3D Designs, created a new design. And this, I think, is a brilliant thing about Tinkercad that is awesome, makes it awesome for a distance learning tool, is this. I'm going to share it and ask you to generate a new link. So I'm going to copy that link and I'm just going to drop that link in the chat to make it easier for quickly sharing it with you. So go ahead, click on that link. And now all of us have access to the same 3D file. I can see someone already dropped, started to get to work here. Awesome. So I was really scratching how, as I mentioned before, how am I going to get across to kids when they're working together to keep the idea of scale in mind? And so I found in characters, I simply pulled out character Astrobot, set them up there, and then scale them down to size. I like the skull. So start to get the idea. So one of the questions I'd like to put out to you, those who are joining us this evening, is now that you've got a little idea of what you can do with this, how would you use it in your classroom or with your kids? And I've created a Padlet where people could leave their ideas, responses, or anything. Feel free. So given a tool like this, where you can have the kids, you can share a file with the kids and say, hey, we're gonna work together and we're going to do some 3D modeling, collaborating with each other. Oops. Design a dream home. Yeah. Renewable energy community model. I like that. That's actually one of the things one of my engineering classes has to work on because we're doing a unit on biomimicry, and I'm having to include the United Nations Sustainable Goals in their design. So with that in mind, I like the idea of, let's see, design a dream home. I'm going to create another file. If you don't mind, I'm going to pair you up into, let's try this. I'll pair you up into breakout rooms. And so what I'll do is on the Google Slides, I'll put links for each breakout room. Okay, and then click on that link that corresponds to your breakout room.
Okay.
Let's try to do that.
All right.
Yeah, I just hit the close button on the breakout rooms.
Awesome. This has been
Thank you.
outstanding. I just wanted to tell you, like, I had such a good time just building.
Gosh, I just feel like we just barely scratched the surface here with what I'd hoped to share with everyone. One thing I would like to encourage you to do is check out, if you're interested, check out the classroom features of Tinkercad. You can actually go in and click on every student and look at the models that they've been working on.
While you're checking, we had one
Oh,
question. Oh,
yeah,
sorry.
sure.
They asked, one friend asked, can they save their work? So,
So the work is automatically saved. So for example, what you can do is, here's a Tinkercad SVCUE. So here's everyone here. I'll click on Jessica, we saw something earlier. So when I click on Jessica, I see that perhaps she's used it before, and I can open up whatever file that I can get a copy of her file and start to work on that.
Nice.
So what the classroom features allows you to do is it shows whatever, whoops. It shows whatever whatever files the students have created and started working on. So you don't necessarily have to assign a file, but you assign a file when you want to be able to have the students collaborate on a file, and then you are kind of the owner of the file. So you can easily go in and check on their models that they've been collaborating on. But I don't want to take up any more of your time. It's already a little past 8.
Well, that was really, really cool what you just were explaining to us. And, I really had a great time just collaborating with, Brooke was in my group, and Ira was in my group, and we just had a really good time just playing with it and making stuff. So I just want to thank you. I've done it in the past, but I've never done it where you're collaborating with other people to make something. And I think that adds a whole other, really great component. So thank you for sharing that with me.
No, thank you. I hope some of you are able to take this away and try it out with your students. And it's just another tool I believe we can add to our toolbox for our distance learning that we're all experiencing.
Well, thank you. Does anyone have any other questions before we wrap up?
Let's quick point out in the Google Slides, there's a link to a wakelet that I've put together of different resources for continuing to check out Tinkercad.
Awesome. Awesome.